Hi everybody. So I finally received my copy of the first edition Asherah Tarot. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Asherah. This is a very Thoth-based, Tree of Life, Kabbalah-based tarot deck, and it is something that I am not completely familiar with because my study with the Thoth system or the more esoteric tarot have stalled due to the fact that I've only started learning tarot 3 years ago and I got distracted by the Marseille. And of course my larger journey is calling out to me to return to it as well. So this is the box, and this is produced by Game Crafter. As some of you might already know, I first heard about this deck on Zack's channel, The Tiger's Abyss, and as soon as I saw it, it was like it was meant to be, because just a few days before that I was talking to someone about trying to get a Tree of Life based, Kabbalah based, or more esoteric tarot for myself that is not Crowley's Thoth, which I have. Crowley or Thoth based decks such as the Sun and Moon and the Urban Tarot. The Urban Tarot especially is more exoteric rather than esoteric, which suits me just fine. But I wanted one or two more decks that's a bit more Tree of Life and sort of Thoth or esoterically inclined a bit more. So for now I have the Hermetic Tarot, the black and white tarot. That's pretty heavy going. And then the Tabula Mundi, both color and black and white. And that's it. And Crowley's Thoth. And I'm very satisfied with those ones. I think the Hermetic Tarot is a little bit too full on for me, especially when it is not my intention to focus on esoteric tarot. But for whatever reason I was looking at, what was it called? I think it's the Sephiroth Tarot, which I was considering a long time ago when I consider a more Thoth deck. I felt a more Golden Dawn based, a more just as a reference deck. I wanted something a bit more closer to how the Golden Dawn had intended it, just as a reference deck. So I ended up with the Hermetic Tarot. But the Sephiroth or Tarot of the Sephiroth was one of the few Golden Dawn oriented decks that was recommended to me. And so in any case, I then saw this popped up on Zack's channel, and I actually liked the art, and I thought to myself, what is this? I must check it out. So I did. And so just quickly looking at the book here, she has a PDF downloadable file once you pay for the deck that you can download and print out. I haven't printed it out. I just wanted to quickly say that I really like the fact that she has all this art here in the booklet that's not in the cards. I've looked through the cards and I actually can't find this or this, and also this one here at the back. This one here. No, this one, yeah, in particular. I haven't been able to find this, but I really like how this art seemingly or feel as if it's been created only for the booklet. It may be one of those design that was supposed to be for the card, and it was, you know, it was scrapped in favor of other images. I really don't know, but I rather like that this image is unique to the booklet and not found in the cards. Excuse me. So this is just a few words. You have the steps there, and she numbers all the pathways. So here it says, and she numbers all the Sephiroth, or the sapphire here, little rounds. Fool, Aleph, the Magus is Beth, the High Priestess is Gimel, etc., etc. And then in the Major Arcana it says like the Hierophant. Number 5 is Path 16. So you look at here, and you look at Path 16, that's that one there, is between 2 and 4. So that's between Chokmah and Chesed, the 2s and Knights, and the 4s. Chokmahs being wisdom, illuminating intelligence, zodiac, fire, wands, wheel, sulfur, duality, force, logos, potency, dynamism. And the 4 being mercy, receptive intelligence, Jupiter, love, majesty, protector, preserver, expansion, civilization, anabolic, obedience, and tyranny. And so the chariot is this path here, etc., etc. She also has a reading list, which is kind of nice. So these are the books that she obviously is recommending for us to read to understand. I found that really helpful, to have this so that you understand where they're coming from. I have the Mystical Kabbalah by Dion Fortune. That's about the only one I have. I wanted to get the Book of Thoth, but I heard that is a bit full-on, and again, I'm being realistic about my priority and my time restriction, and as well as the limitation of my mental space. But there's all this. There's the I Ching, there's the Sephiroth Sirah, practical guide to Kabbalistic symbolism. I'll leave you to freeze or pause this frame here and to go through the list. Well, that's a pretty Liberty. That's McGregor Mathers. That's the I think he's the practically the Golden Dawn guy, isn't he? Mathers. I think Crowley was his prodigy, I think. In any case, and then yeah, so there's the, let's go to the, now the card is by Graham Crafter, so like a lot of us expected, it's very flimsy, it's so thin. And I heard that the creator was going to create a smaller deck so that the card feels thicker. And if you can see the level of detail of the art, it would be such a waste to reduce the size of this deck. I'm going to show you what Game Crafter call linen finish. Someone make a distinction between linen finish and linen cardstock. And I think the linen texturing is the texturing of the lamination, and I think the reason why this does not feel as good as the linen finish of Printer Studio, for example, is because the cardstock is really, really thin. And during shuffling, I can also smell a kind of smell of ink, or some kind of industrial smell. And yeah, so that's the back. It's just lovely. The aesthetic is so lovely to me. I really like it. And I am usually quite iffy with human depictions, but things like Pearls of Wisdom, and you know, where the humans are clearly realistic enough to represent a human person, a humanoid shaped person, but especially the faces, but they are clearly illustrations rather than a portrait. And so to me, that sense of them being in a different world, put them in a world of abstraction, which makes me able to connect with them even though they don't look like me. But when they're so realistic, like a portrait or like a photo, it often unrattled me, because as I look into those faces, I can recognize a very realistic human that does not look like me, and it makes it a bit harder to connect with. That's the Hierophant. I also quite like how the title is painted on instead of printed, if you know what I mean. So I believe that's actually painted, I said drawn in. I could be wrong, but it looks like it's drawn in. It's the Lovers. Zack has done a flip through of this, so I will leave it to the link below for you to have a look. I'm not quite sure if there are other people who's done this flip through. Well, I'm just going to speed things up. I've taken a photo of this and I've made this my wallpaper on my phone. It's my birth card, and it's just so mesmerizing, so hypnotic. It's very decorative, and I like that sort of position. It reminds me of a Tai Chi stance. Temperance. The artwork in the minors reminds me of Frida Harris's without looking like she's copying Frida Harris. So it feels very original, very refreshing, very new to gaze at, but it has that sense or that feeling that is very familiar, like this one here. If you remember the Ace of Wands in the Thoth, Crowley's Thoth deck. So it's almost decorative. It's like this mandala, sort of almost abstract, almost, I don't know how to call it, but it's such a strong patterns which conveys such a strong mood, like that one there. It's just so strong in a way that Frida Harris's artwork, especially the minors, are similar in character. They're just this very strong patterns. It's just things and colors, and they float in the cards, but man, they're packed such a whole lot of punch. So, and I saw a lot of Thoth clones, quote unquote, of Thoth-based decks, which minors just look way too much like Frida Harris's minors. I mean, it's almost as if they've redrawn Frida Harris's artwork. Here it's, yeah, I will let you see it for yourself what I mean. You see what I mean? That sense. It is in the spirit of the original deck, but it is completely different from the original deck. It doesn't look like someone's trying to copy someone else's work. There's the Rosicrucian cross. I mean, look at that. It's just so out of this world. So yeah, that to me looked like it's been hand drawn, hand colored, and instead of, you know, it's almost as if I haven't been following this artist because I just only recently found out this deck existed. So it's almost as if the lettering here has been done during the making of the art itself, rather than as a function of post-production, if you know what I mean. So that the lettering and the titles are part of the artwork themselves, and I really like that. Queen of Discs. So the court succession is princess, prince, queen, and knight. Daughter, son, mother, father. It's very Thoth. The princess would be earth. The prince or the king to be would be air, because he's going to be the king and the king is air. The queen is water and the knight is fire. And I had shared a few thoughts about my take on, my exoteric take on the difference of worldview between Crowley and Waite. And I'll link that video somewhere up here or down there. I think in Crowley's worldview, it is the fire, it is the groundbreaker that open up a new frontier, a new world in the night. While in Waite's world order, it is the stable, steady king that preside over an established world. While in Crowley's worldview, it is the night, the fire, that opens up a new world. And once that happen, the prince will grow to be a king, and the king will then rule this established, stable world, which the knight have opened up from nothing. The Ace of Cups, that's amazing. It's like a womb, but it's also like a cup. And I like the fact that the dove is still there. Yeah, it speaks to my the Catholic worldview that I grew up with, and however I feel about the Catholic Church, that because I don't have an adversarial relationship or a traumatic relationship with the Catholic Church. That is a familiarity that I always welcome. It's just that there's so few things in these things that I can feel as part of my own personal world, and that's just part of life for some of us, which is fine. But when there's something you can identify with on a personal level, it just makes things so much more powerful. And because I read only for myself, that sort of thing becomes a lot more important. When I saw this on Zack's video, I actually have a sense of deep familiarity, which I thought was a little strange. I almost thought that this particular animal here, which looks like a giant squid, it seems so natural that this animal is in the Eight of Cups, and I don't know why that is. Yeah, that was a little strange. And this sense of this pattern, this repeating, flowing, decorative, beautiful, moody pattern that Frida Harris's art have graced the Thoth deck. I get that sense here as well. And here and in all the minors, really. This reminds me of The Birth of Venus by Botticelli. This is the earth of water, the air of water. This is my significator. The water of water and the fire of water. I have never seen myself as having a significator until Maha from Maha's treasure box mapped our birth chart, astrological birth chart, with the major arcana archetypes, and the King of Cups, or the Prince of Cups here, the air of water, is really someone I suddenly realized I highly identify with. I always thought I am more of a... My birth card is Death, the Fool, and the Emperor. So I identify with those three highly anyway. But if I have to choose of all the court cards or the minors, I probably would have thought that I was Queen of Swords, which is water of air, but I am air of water instead of water of air. So that's a really big revelation that I am grateful to Maha for. Yeah. So that is the first edition Asherah Tarot by Sarah Wheatley, produced in 2017. It can be obtained by on Gamecrafter. I do wish that in her next printing she does not reduce the size of this deck, because I think it would be a complete waste of her art. And if she is hoping for a thicker feel cardstock in the hand, I hope that she might go for Printer Studio or make playing cards. And I hope that she's able to incorporate her full handbook with the deck in one packaging. And I hope that she continues to use artwork in her booklet like this that is unique to the booklet and not found in the cards, so it's not a mere reproduction of one of the cards, like that one there. I find that really nice. And yeah, so I sincerely hope that she's not going to reduce the size of the cards. I mean, of course, she's the creator, she can really do whatever she wants, and if she's going to offer a smaller deck, I hope that she will continue to make available this extra large jumbo size, because I think I'll struggle to work with these images any smaller than this. And I hope she will consider other printing platform which can provide a much thicker deck, because this one is this is great for riffle shuffling, but for people like me whose hand's really small, it's very hard to, without straining, it's really hard to riffle shuffle that way, because it's just too wide. So yeah, so I really feel that I found my Thoth deck other than Crowley's and Frida Harris's, really. I think the Hermetic and the Tabula Mundi, I think, is amazing, but they're really full on, like extremely full on. This is probably full on too, I don't know, but the images are more cheerful. I found they're a bit less intimidating. And so when you're not really motivated to get into all this esoteric stuff, I think just the pleasure of working with these lovely images might help get into the swing of things. Maybe. So that is my first impression of the first edition, Asherah Tarot.